Welcome back to Spectra Creative. I'm Scott Toy Guru Nightlick, longtime toy collector and longtime toy maker, which is what makes this channel kind of unique. And that's exactly what we're going to do today. We're going to dive into the current rumor about Hasbro looking to transition from a manufacturer to a licensor. And again, this is a rumor, okay? I'm not saying it's true or false. What I'm providing is, if it's true, here's some logical next steps of what might happen. Again, I want to, from my experience being in the toy industry. So that's what we're doing. So we're addressing the rumor that's kind of looking more and more potentially true, that Hasbro is looking at transitioning. Right now they are a manufacturer, right? They make little plastic men and women and monsters and all sorts of things. In games, not just action figures, they make lots of categories. They make Nerf, right? We all love Nerf. I love Nerf. I'm a big Nerf fan. What's going to happen to all of these brands, including Nerf and Monopoly and My Little Pony and even their licensed brands like Star Wars and Disney Princess and Marvel? So we've covered before why it makes financial sense for Hasbro to be converting from a manufacturer to a licensor. Now, one thing that comes with that is that means that they're also on the hook for creating content or licensing out content. Much like, a company like Disney. Disney makes content. They don't make toys, more or less. I mean, they make some exclusives for the parks, but that's, you know what I mean, more like mass retail. They license out Mickey Mouse and all of their many, many brands, from Pixar to Star Wars and Marvel and everything else they've bought. ESPN. Are there toys for ESPN? I don't know. Probably. All right. So, starting lineup. That's made by Hasbro. Okay. So, if Hasbro is going to convert and now start just licensing out their brands, and they're advantageously set up for this because they own more brands than almost any other toy company. So what will happen? Well, smaller toy companies and large companies may be interested in licensing out Hasbro's brands. Would they just continue with the current toy lines? Yes and no. So, all right, let's start with kind of broad mass retail, and we'll work our way in towards collector stuff. All right, so there's going to be some mass retail lines that some of the large companies actually have interest in. I could see Mattel being very interested in reacquiring Disney Princess, if for no other reason than to keep another manufacturer from gaining the core competencies and the retail in, like, getting in with retail in selling dolls in that category. Mattel likes to own that category. They have for years. When Disney got Disney Princess 10, 15 years ago, it was because of Mattel's, it was literally Disney kind of slapping Mattel's hand because they had launched Ever After High, which was a competitive line to Disney Princess that Mattel owned. And that's why Disney took Princess away from Mattel and deliberately gave it to their competitor, Hasbro, who wasn't making dolls. So Hasbro has built up this core competency that they're a doll maker, and Mattel likely is going to want to sort of, move their pieces around on the chessboard and keep another company from acquiring a major doll license. So I could see Mattel stepping in and trying to reacquire the licensing rights to Disney Princess, whether they're subcontracting through Hasbro's license or reapplying to Disney. I mean, it happens. Jakks got WWE toys, years after suing WWE over toys. So, things come around. It's very secular in the toy industry. All right. So other big brands that they have, I mean, obviously some of their big retail, Marvel and Star Wars. Again, I understand why Hasbro may want to get out of those contracts, because the content has not been performing well for the past few years. Just go to Ollie's and you know what we're talking about. Now, if another company was to pick up a major brand like Marvel or Star Wars, and I don't think Mattel would be interested because they see the same thing Hasbro does. Content is not selling toys. But for a smaller company, even a Jazzwares or a Just Fun, or, well, Wicked Cool is Jazzwares now, but, Jakks or Spin, it could be advantageous. I mean, Spin, obviously, getting the Batman license was a big shock to people. That was one of the biggest licenses they got. And traditionally, it really only been with a Mattel or a Hasbro going back and forth, or a Kenner. So if a new company, if a smaller one was to get a Marvel or a Star Wars, they would likely want to maximize it by focusing on the A-list characters, not continuing sort of a dying collector line, if you will. I mean, are they going to come out with 3 3/4 figures? What I could see is the licenses being split, very similar to what happened with Spin Master getting DC. how McFarlane got sort of the collector scale and Spin got the kid. So hopefully that is what would happen, is you would get a small company like a Super 7, a Loyal Subjects, would get Marvel or Star Wars and would continue the very small run collector scales and things like 6-inch and 3 3/4, which are existing scales for something like Star Wars. Same thing with Marvel. I could see, much like Marvel Legends jumped from Toy Biz to Hasbro to new Hasbro, I could see Super 7 doing, ultimate versions of Marvel characters. And then a new company doing kid product at retail in whatever scale is, flavor of the month for kids and collectors. So yes, it's likely the lines that we've been collecting, things like Marvel Legends, Transformers, GI Joe. Well, actually, let's flip from the licensed ones to the IP that Hasbro owns. So what would they do with the ones, that they own, the GI Joes, the Transformers? All right, so with those, I could see them splitting those up with even more toy companies. And again, hopefully a Super 7, a Loyal Subjects, a Mezco, a Mondo picks up the collector scale, much like Super 7 is doing collector GI Joe Ultimates already. And then if they wanted to continue those brands at retail, again, they would probably get brand new form factors, brand new kid-focused product. Any company that acquires a new license, especially a major brand like a Transformers or a Hasbro, I'm sorry, Transformers or a GI Joe. Hasbro's the company. See, I know what I'm talking about sometimes. They're going to want to focus on getting kid product out there that sells in the millions of units, not the 500,000 Marvel Legends variant of the latest version of She-Hulk. So that's basically overarching what based on my experience, what happened was you would see the major brands that Hasbro owns being split up into multiple companies and spliced up by form factor, by demographic, by distribution, by material, by articulation point, all sorts of ways. We would see the brands that Hasbro controls split up like that. I mean, they're already licensing out things like Mask. They license out Monopoly, for the most part. They don't make that many monopolies. It's already been a license, so we kind of already know how this works. And Hasbro would still have their name on the box, and a lot of times it might just look like a Hasbro product, but it's going to be produced by another company. So those are kind of the three buckets. The brands that they license, there's going to be, large companies from Mattel on down that are sort of interested in acquiring some of those licenses, but I think that the ones that don't have hot content are going to be not as... They're going to appeal more to smaller companies. The large companies are going to see what Hasbro sees. And then Hasbro's IP would get split up, and ideally collector lines, everything from Transformers to Marvel Legends, would go to a Super 7. I know I use them over and over again, but they're the best example. And then we would see new companies making Transformers at Walmart and Target, and it would focus on whatever, they're going to want to make product that sells, which is what's for kids. So it's, in a way, for collectors, hey, if you want to collect them all, it's kind of a good time to get off the bus. If this is all true, again, this could be a rumor that turns out not to be true, but with all the scuttlebutt, and cross that with what I call balance of probability, if you just look at things logically, they tend to, go with an argument like that. So there we go. Let me know if you guys have questions, because I definitely want to help clear this up, and why different companies would have different approaches, and if I've missed any. Nerf. I haven't even talked about Nerf. Same thing. It's like there's so many companies already making blasters. That would be an easy label slap. I could also see a lot of these brands getting, the quality could go down. I know people already complain that with Hasbro, but when you start to go to companies that less and less experience, obviously Hasbro's going to have quality control, and they're going to, they're not going to let people put out schlock. And then of course the other thing is the smaller companies don't have the overhead that Hasbro has, which is a lot of times. But those licensed properties that Hasbro's with right now are very expensive. We're talking 25 to 30 plus points to license. So I could see why Hasbro wants to get out of those deals. Let me know if this clarified things. If you have any other questions, I'm always available to make a follow-up video. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sharing. It's the best way to support this channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video.